Picture two individuals. Both are 82 years old. The first person has a clean bill of cardiovascular health. Their blood pressure is well managed with medication. Their cholesterol is within the normal range. By many conventional metrics, they are healthy. But they can no longer get up from a chair without using their arms. A fall last year resulted in a hip fracture, and they never fully regained their independence. The second person, their blood pressure is also fine. But more importantly, they can carry their own groceries up 3 flights of stairs. They can get on the floor to play with their great-grandchild, and get back up again, unassisted. They are not just living longer, they are living better. What is the single greatest physiological variable that separates these two lives? It's not their cholesterol panel, it's not the number on the scale, and it's not the number of steps they get per day. It's a factor we almost never discuss in the context of healthy aging, despite the overwhelming evidence that it may be the single most powerful predictor of how long you live, and how well you live. A factor hidden in plain sight. So, for decades, we've been told the story of aging is a story of cardiovascular decline. That the path to a long life is paved with low-fat diets and aerobic exercise. But what if that's only half the story? What if the real narrative, the one that governs our independence, our resilience, and our vitality, is a story of muscular decay? In this video, we're not just going to talk about exercise. We're going on a deep dive into the science of your skeletal muscle, to understand why it is your greatest metabolic asset. We'll investigate the silent epidemic of sarcopenia, and uncover why building and preserving your muscle mass is the most powerful, and most tragically overlooked, lever you can pull for a long and vibrant health span. In the United States, about 10,000 people turn 65 every single day. By 2030, all baby boomers will be 65 or older. This demographic shift, often called the silver tsunami, presents an unprecedented challenge to our healthcare system and to our very definition of what it means to age well. Right now, the leading cause of both fatal and non-fatal injuries in older Americans is falls. Every year, over 3 million older people are treated in emergency departments for fall injuries. The medical costs exceed $50 billion annually. But the economic cost pales in comparison to the human cost, a loss of confidence, a fear of leaving the home, and far too often, a permanent loss of independence. And this is where our conventional wisdom has tragically failed us. For the past 50 years, our public health messaging around longevity has been dominated by two primary villains: heart disease and cancer. And our primary weapons have been managing weight and doing cardio. Now, let me be absolutely clear, managing your weight is important, and cardiovascular exercise is non-negotiably beneficial. But an obsessive focus on these two factors alone creates a massive blind spot. First, let's dismantle the obsession with body weight, or BMI. It tells us almost nothing about body composition. You can be a normal weight but have very low muscle mass and a high percentage of body fat. This condition has a name: sarcopenic obesity. It is a metabolic nightmare, combining the weakness and frailty of muscle loss with the insulin resistance and inflammation driven by excess adipose tissue. A person with sarcopenic obesity is often far less healthy than someone who is technically overweight but carries a significant amount of muscle. The number on the scale is a terrible proxy for metabolic health. Second, the idea that cardio is king for longevity. Yes, running, swimming, and cycling are phenomenal for your heart, your blood vessels, and your brain. But they are relatively weak signals for maintaining, let alone building, skeletal muscle mass and strength. Think about it, what is the final event that often precedes the move to an assisted living facility? It's not a failed cardiac stress test. It's the inability to get out of a chair. It's the fall that breaks a hip. It is a failure of the musculoskeletal system. The reason these conventional approaches fail to protect our future quality of life is that they don't adequately address the root cause of physical decline. The real key isn't in a lower number on the scale, it's in a powerful, ancient organ system we mistakenly view as purely for movement. An organ system that is, in fact, the largest endocrine organ in your body. And understanding its hidden role is the first step to truly taking control of how you age. For most of human history, we've thought of muscle in simple, mechanical terms. It's the tissue that contracts to move our limbs. It's for locomotion, for lifting, for labor. But in the last 2 decades, a revolution in our understanding has taken place. We now know that skeletal muscle is a sophisticated endocrine organ. Think of it like this: your pancreas secretes insulin, your thyroid gland secretes thyroid hormone. These are hormones, signaling molecules that travel through the blood to communicate with other organs. Your skeletal muscle does the exact same thing. When you contract your muscles, especially during resistance exercise, they secrete hundreds of these signaling molecules into your bloodstream. These are called myokines, myo for muscle, kine for signaling. You can think of your muscles as a pharmacy. A pharmacy that is only open for business when you're physically active. These myokines are the drugs it dispenses. One of the most famous is interleukin 6, or IL-6. For years, we knew that chronically high levels of IL-6 were associated with systemic inflammation and disease. But then researchers discovered a paradox. After a bout of intense exercise, IL-6 levels shoot up temporarily, but the net effect is profoundly anti-inflammatory. This exercise-induced pulse of IL-6 actually tells the liver to produce other anti-inflammatory molecules and inhibits the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines like TNF-alpha. It's a beautiful example of hormesis, a beneficial, short-term stress that makes the entire system more resilient. Other myokines travel to your fat cells and help facilitate the breakdown of visceral fat, the dangerous fat around your organs. Others travel to the pancreas and improve its function. And some, like brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, cross the blood-brain barrier, where they act like fertilizer for your brain cells, promoting the growth of new neurons and protecting against cognitive decline. This is the aha moment. Your muscle mass is not just a passive storehouse of strength. It is an active regulator of your entire metabolic and inflammatory state. Having a healthy amount of muscle mass is like having a powerful, anti-inflammatory, anti-aging pharmacy on call, 24/7. Losing that muscle means shutting that pharmacy down. The evidence linking this pharmacy to our health span is overwhelming, and it comes from some of the most robust, long-term studies ever conducted. Take the famous Framingham Heart Study. Beginning in 1948, researchers have followed thousands of residents of Framingham, Massachusetts, across multiple generations. While its initial focus was heart disease, the data it produced has given us incredible insights into aging. In a paper published in the Archives of Gerontology and Geriatrics, researchers looked at data from the study and found that hand grip strength, a simple proxy for overall muscle strength, was a powerful predictor of future disability, cognitive impairment, and even mortality, completely independent of other risk factors like smoking or diabetes. In fact, another landmark 2018 study published in The Lancet involving over 140,000 adults in 17 countries found that grip strength was a stronger predictor of all-cause and cardiovascular mortality than systolic blood pressure. Let that sink in. This simple test of strength was more predictive of death than one of the most fundamental vital signs in all of medicine. And it's not just strength. It's mass. A 2017 meta-analysis published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition pooled data from multiple studies and found a clear, dose-dependent relationship: the more muscle mass an older adult had, the lower their risk of mortality. This loss of muscle mass and function with age has a clinical name: sarcopenia. From the Greek sarx for flesh, and penia for loss. It begins insidiously, often as early as our 30s, where we can lose 3 to 8% of our muscle mass per decade if we're inactive. That rate of loss accelerates dramatically after age 60. So, why does this happen? The core cellular mechanism is a phenomenon called anabolic resistance. Anabolic means to build up. As we age, our muscle cells become harder of hearing. They become less sensitive to the two primary signals that tell them to grow and repair: dietary protein and exercise. In a young person, eating a steak or doing a set of squats triggers a robust muscle-building response. In a 70-year-old, that same steak and same set of squats produces a much smaller, blunted response. The signal is being sent, but the receiver isn't working as well. This is the central biological challenge of sarcopenia. So, we have the mechanism: muscle as a myokine-secreting endocrine organ. We have the evidence: a direct, powerful link between muscle mass, strength, and health span. And we have the culprit, age-related anabolic resistance. This paints a clear, if sobering, picture. But here is where the science becomes profoundly optimistic. Because anabolic resistance is not a fixed sentence. It's a problem of signaling. And we can absolutely turn up the volume of that signal. The protocol to do it is built on two fundamental pillars. To fight sarcopenia and overcome anabolic resistance, we need to send our muscles a signal that is so loud and so clear that they are forced to listen. This requires a two-pronged attack of targeted nutrition and specific exercise. They work synergistically. One without the other is profoundly less effective. Let's start with Pillar 1, nutrition. The single most important nutrient for this battle is protein. For decades, the recommended dietary allowance, or RDA, for protein in the US has been 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. This number was established to prevent deficiency in the average, sedentary adult. It is grossly inadequate for an individual looking to build or maintain muscle mass, especially as they age. A consensus statement from the International Protein Board, and a wealth of other research, now suggests that older adults should aim for 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. For a 180-pound, or 82-kilogram, person, that's a target of about 100 to 130 grams of protein daily. That's a significant amount, the equivalent of about a pound of chicken breast. But it's not just about the total amount, it's about the distribution. Because of anabolic resistance, you need to hit a certain protein threshold at each meal to kickstart the muscle-building machinery. Think of it like a lawnmower with a pull start. You can pull the cord gently 10 times and nothing will happen. You need one strong, decisive pull to get the engine to turn over. The research suggests this decisive pull is about 30 to 40 grams of high-quality protein per meal. Spreading your protein intake evenly in these boluses across the day is far more effective than eating a low-protein breakfast and lunch followed by a massive steak for dinner. Finally, we have protein quality. The ignition switch for muscle protein synthesis is a specific amino acid called leucine. We need about 3 grams of leucine in a meal to maximize the muscle-building response. Animal proteins like whey, beef, chicken, fish, and eggs are rich in leucine. For those on a plant-based diet, it's still achievable but requires more careful planning, often combining sources like soy, pea, and rice protein to get the full amino acid profile and hit that leucine threshold. So that's the nutritional signal: more protein, evenly distributed in sufficient doses, and high quality. Now, for Pillar 2, the exercise signal. This is the conversation starter. Protein is the building blocks, but exercise is the foreman telling the construction crew to get to work. While all movement is good, the most potent signal for muscle growth is resistance training. This means moving your body against a force, whether that's weights, resistance bands, or your own body weight. The goal is a program that involves 2 to 3 full-body sessions per week, focusing on major compound movements. These are exercises that use multiple muscle groups at once. Squats and leg presses for the lower body. Deadlifts and rows for the back and posterior chain. And overhead presses and push-ups for the upper body. The key principle is progressive overload. This simply means that over time, you must challenge your muscles with more than they are accustomed to, either by lifting slightly more weight, doing one more repetition, or improving your form. This is the signal that tells your body it needs to adapt by becoming stronger and building more muscle tissue. A good target is working in a rep range of 6 to 12 repetitions per set, where the last couple of reps are genuinely challenging, but you can still maintain perfect form. But pure strength is only one part of the equation. As we age, we don't just lose strength, we lose power. Power is the ability to generate force quickly. It's what allows you to react and catch yourself when you trip, preventing a fall. This relies on your fast-twitch muscle fibers, which are the first to go during sarcopenia. We train this by incorporating stability and power exercises. This includes unilateral work, like lunges and single-leg exercises, which challenge your balance and stabilizing muscles. And for those who are able, it includes explosive movements, like a kettlebell swing or a box jump onto a low, stable surface. The intent is to move with speed. This comprehensive protocol, fueling the body with adequate protein and sending a powerful signal with resistance, stability, and power training, is the gold standard for combating sarcopenia. But as with any powerful intervention, the devil is in the details. Many people start this journey with the best intentions, only to fail. There are 3 critical pitfalls that can completely derail your progress, and the third one is the most insidious. I need to be very clear, this is not a magic bullet. It requires consistency, effort, and an intelligent approach. Here are the 3 most common mistakes that can sabotage your results. Visuals, an animation showing 2 cellular pathways. 1, labeled mTOR, growth, is activated by resistance training. The other, AMPK, endurance/repair, is activated by cardio. When activated simultaneously, the AMPK signal slightly dampens the mTOR signal. Pitfall number 1, the cardio interference effect. There is a fascinating debate in exercise physiology about the interference effect. At the cellular level, resistance training and endurance training activate different master signaling pathways. Resistance training powerfully activates a pathway called mTOR, which is the primary driver of muscle growth. Intense endurance exercise, on the other hand, activates a pathway called AMPK, which is associated with energy sensing and building more mitochondria. Some research suggests that if you perform a long, intense cardio session immediately before or after your strength training, the AMPK signal can actually blunt or interfere with the mTOR signal, potentially reducing the muscle-building response. Now, the science here is still evolving, and the effect is likely small for most people. But to be safe, the practical advice is to separate your hard strength sessions and your hard cardio sessions by at least 6 hours, or do them on alternate days. A light warm-up on the bike before lifting is perfectly fine. A grueling hour-long run followed immediately by heavy squats is not ideal if muscle growth is your primary goal. Pitfall number 2, neglecting recovery. You do not build muscle in the gym. You build muscle when you are resting. Exercise is the stimulus, it's a form of stress that creates microtears in your muscle fibers. The growth happens when your body repairs those tears, making them slightly stronger and bigger than before. This repair process requires energy, raw materials from your diet, and, most critically, sleep. Deep sleep is when your body releases the highest amount of growth hormone, a key player in tissue repair. Chronic sleep deprivation, on the other hand, elevates cortisol, a catabolic stress hormone that can actively break down muscle tissue. Getting 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night is not a luxury, it is a non-negotiable part of this protocol. And pitfall number 3, the aggressive caloric deficit trap. This is the most counterintuitive and most important pitfall, especially for people whose goal is to both lose fat and build muscle. The process of building new muscle tissue is energetically expensive. It requires a surplus of energy. If you are in a significant caloric deficit, eating far fewer calories than your body is burning, your body is in a state of conservation and breakdown, not growth and building. Trying to build muscle while aggressively dieting is like trying to build a house during a building material shortage. Your body will almost always prioritize its energy for essential functions over building new, metabolically expensive muscle tissue. This is especially true as you get older and anabolic resistance is already working against you. The solution is to tackle one goal at a time. Either eat at maintenance calories or a very slight surplus to focus on building strength and muscle, or accept that during a fat loss phase, the goal of your resistance training is to preserve the muscle you have, not necessarily build more. Finally, a crucial nuance, the protein targets we discussed are for individuals with healthy kidney function. If you have chronic kidney disease, you must consult with your physician before making any significant changes to your protein intake. This protocol is a template, not a prescription. You are the architect of your own health. By being aware of these nuances, you move beyond simply following a plan. You begin to understand the language of your own physiology. So what does success actually look like? What are the real, tangible changes you can expect? Let's imagine a hypothetical person, let's call him Robert, based on the thousands of participants in these studies. At 65, Robert's doctor tells him his BMI is fine, but a DEXA scan reveals sarcopenic obesity. His grip is weak, his walking speed is slowing, and he gets winded carrying groceries. He feels himself entering a period of decline. He decides to act. He starts resistance training twice a week and meticulously focuses on hitting 120 grams of protein a day, front-loading 40 grams at breakfast. The first month is hard. He's sore. But he notices he can get out of his favorite armchair a little easier. After 6 months, his clothes fit differently. He's lost fat around his waist but feels more solid. His grip strength has improved by 20%. After 2 years, the transformation is profound. His blood markers for inflammation are down. His insulin sensitivity is dramatically improved. But more importantly, he joined a hiking club. He can pick up his 5-year-old grandson and toss him in the air. He is no longer a passive observer of his life, he is an active participant. He didn't just add potential years to his life. He added undeniable life to his years. The difference between the two 82-year-olds we met at the beginning was not luck, and it wasn't genetics. It was the result of decades of deposits and withdrawals from a physiological bank account. Let's call it their muscular 401k. One of them spent their 50s, 60s, and 70s making small, consistent deposits of protein and resistance training. The other made constant withdrawals through inactivity and inadequate nutrition. By the time they reached their 80s, the difference in their accounts was the difference between frailty and freedom. This is the power you have. To start making those deposits today, no matter your age. So, if there's one thing to take away from our deep dive today, it's this: stop viewing your muscle as cosmetic, and start treating it as your most critical metabolic and endocrine organ for a long, vibrant health span. It is your glucose disposal agent, your systemic anti-inflammatory pharmacy, and your armor against the inevitable challenges of aging. So here is my challenge to you. For the next 7 days, I want you to do just one thing: track your protein intake. Don't worry about changing anything else. Just use an app or a notebook and see how much you're actually getting. Measure it against that target of 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram of your body weight. Let me know in the comments how close you are. The results might genuinely surprise you, and that awareness is the first and most important step. If this deep dive was valuable to you, the best way you can support this channel is to share this video with one person in your life who might find it useful. Thank you for your curiosity and your time. I'll see you in the next one.